Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, I will continue read about Alice in Wonderland, about chapter 3 and the title uh, Caucus Race and a Long Tail. They were in that acure-looking party that assembled off the bank, the birds with dark-red feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them, and all dripping wet, cross, and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry again. They had a conversation about this. And after a few minutes, it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself taking familiar with them as if she had known them all her life. In it, she had quite a long argument with Dolores, who at last turned sulk and would only say, I am older than you and must know better. And this list would not allow without knowing how old it was, and as the lorry positively revolves to tell each age, there was no more to be said. At last, the mouse, who seemed to be a person of some authority among them, called call out, sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I will soon make you dry enough. They all sat down at once in a large ring, with the mouse in the middle. Please keep your eyes actually fixed on it, for she was sure she would catch a bad cold if she did not get dry very soon. Ahem, said the mouse with an important eye. Are you all ready? This is the driest thing. No, I know. Silence all around. If you please, William the Kilgore, whose house was favored by the public, was submitted to by the English, who went leaders and had been of late much accustomed to usurpation and conquest. Edwin and Morcar, the earls of Mercia and North Northumbria. Oh, sighed the lorry with a shiver. I beg your pardon, sighed the mouse, frowning but very politely. Did you speak? No, I, sighed the lorry, asleep. I thought you did, sighed the mouse. I pressed Edwin and Morse, the earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stephen, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable. Found what? Said the duck. Found it do. The mouse replied rather crossly. Of course, you know what it means. I know what it means well enough. When I think, sighed the duck. It is generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find? The mouse did not notice this question, but hardly when one found it advisable to go with Edgar, telling to meet William and over him to crown. William's conduct at first was moderate, but the insolence of his Normans. How are you getting on now, my dear? It continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. As wet as ever, sighed Elise in a melancholy tone. It doesn't seem to rain at In that case, sighed the dodo solemnly, raising to its feet, I move that the meeting adjourned for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies. Speak English, sighed the agent. I don't know the meaning of all these long words, and what's more, I don't believe you do either. And the eaglet bent down its head to hide a smile. Some of the other birds tried audibly. What I was going to say, said the dodo in an offended tone, was that The best thing to get us started would cow's rice. What is a cow's rice? Said Elise, not that she much want to know, but the dodo had paused as if it thought that somebody out to speak, and no one else seemed inclined to say anything. Why? Said the dodo. The best way to explain it is to do it. And as you might like to try the thing yourself, some winter dice, I will tell you how the dodo managed it. First, it marked out a fresh course in a sort of circle. The exact shape doesn't matter each side. And then all the party were placed along the course here and there. There was no 1, 2, 3 and away, but they began running when they like and left off when they like, so that it was not easy to know when the race was over. However, when they had been running half an hour or so and were quite dry again, the dodo suddenly called out, "The race is over," and they all crowded round it, panting and asking, "But who asked what?" This question the dodo could not answer without a great deal of thought, and it sat for a long time with one finger pressed upon its forehead, the position in which you usually see Shakespeare in the picture of him. While the rest wait in silence, at last the dodo said, "Everybody has won, and all must have prizes. But who is to give the prizes?" Quite a crowd of voices asked. "Why, she of course," sighed the dodo, pointing to Elise with one finger, "and the whole party at once crowded round here, calling out in a confused way, prizes." Elise had no idea what to do, and in despair, she put her hand in her pocket and pulled out a box of comfits. Likely the salt water had not gone into it, and handed them round as prize. There was exactly one each all around, but she must have a prize herself, said the mouse. "Of course," the dodo replied very gravely. "What else have you got in your pocket?" he went on, turning to Elise. Elise. "Only a thimble," said Elise sadly. "Hand it over here," said the dodo. Then they all crowded round here once more, while the dodo solemnly presented the thimble, saying, "We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble." And when it had finished this short speech, they all prayed. Alice took the whole thing very upset, but they all looked so grave that she did not dare to laugh, and as she could not think of anything to say, she simply bowed and took the table looking as solemn as she could. The next thing was to eat the confits. This caused some noise and commotion as the large birds complained that they could not taste theirs, and the small ones should cook and had to be pat on the back. However, it was over at last, and they sat down again in a ring and the mouse to tell them something more. "You promised to tell me your history, sighed Alice. "And why it is you had CND?" she added in a whisper, half afraid that you would be offended again. "Mine is a long and unsaid time," said the mouse, turning to Alice and saying, "It has a long tail," suddenly said Alice, looking down with wonder at the mouse tail. "But why do you call it sad?" And she kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the tails was something like this, for he said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I will. Take no, Daniel. We must have a trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do," said the mouse to the cause such a trial there's with no jury of a judge would be wasting our breath. I will be judged. I will be jury same side accusing at 40. I will try the well and about and what you did. You are not attending, said the mouse to Alice severely. What are you thinking of? I beg your pardon, said Alice, very humble. You had to go to the fifth band. I think I had not, cried the mouse softly and very angrily. I know, sighed Alice, always ready to make herself usable and looking anxiously about her. Oh, do me hope to undo it. I shall do nothing of the sort, said the mouse, getting up and walking away. You insult me by talking such nonsense. I didn't mean it, pleaded poor Elise. But you are so easily offended. You know. The mouse only growled in reply. Please come back and finish your story. Alice called after it, and the others all joined in call. Yes, please do. But the mouse only shook its head impotently and walked a little quicker. What what a pity it would not stay, said the lorry as soon as it was quite out of sight. And all Crab took the opportunity of saying to her daughter, "Oh, my dear, let this be a lesson to you never to lose your temper. Hold your tongue, Ma," sighed the young crab a little snappily. "You are enough to try the patience of an oyster. I wish I had our Gina here." "I know I do," said Alice aloud, addressing nobody in particular. She soon with it back. "And who is Gina, if I may venture to ask the question?" sighed the lorry. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet. "Dina's our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice. You can think, and oh, I wish you could see her after the bird. Why, she'll eat a little bit as soon as look at it." This speech caused a remarkable sensation among the party. Some of the birds hurried off at once. One old monkey began wrapping itself up very carefully, remarking, "I really must be getting home. The night owl doesn't sweet my child." And a canary called out in a trembling voice to its children, "Come away, my dears. It's high time you were all in bed." On various pretexts, they all moved off, and Alice wasn't left alone. "I wish I had not mentioned Gina," she sighed to herself in a melancholy tone. "Nobody seems to like her down here, and I'm sure she is the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Gina, I wonder if I shall ever see you any more." And here poor Alice began to cry again, for she felt very lonely and low spirited. In a little while, however, she again heard a little pattering of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up eagerly, hoping that the mouse had changed his mind and was coming back to finish his story. And that's all for chapter 3. Thank you. Let's see you in the next chapter 4. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.